This segment is brought to you by Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. All right, today's Good Vibe Show. I want you to listen to the tone of my voice as I introduce Debbie Cox DeNovo. She is our transformation coach. And the title today, in case the audience hasn't figured it out, come that close up, Jay. Keeping calm. How was that for an intro?
Amazing.
All right.
Amazing.
All right, so easier said than done.
Yes.
Especially in the TV world, hurricanes, deadline pressure. But I've seen any business has that little mark where things can unravel.
Yes.
So everybody learns to do their own little all right, so help us out.
Yes, and it's been said by Andrew Huberman, who I love, he's a top neuroscientist, that trying to control the mind with the mind is like trying to grab fog. It's like not going to happen, right?
Very true.
So today we're going to talk about 4 sort of buckets, ways to approach being calm, and they are breath, which we have talked about plenty, reframing, connecting, and caring. And there's plenty of science behind each one, fascinating science, in fact. And hopefully this will be life-changing for some people at home, because this is literally information that can save someone's life. Some of it is going to be a little overlap. So it's from Andrew Huberman and Kelly McGonigal. Okay, so one of the things to remember, first of all, is that when you're experiencing stress in the body, it's not everybody that actually needs to calm down. For some people, their response to stress is actually overwhelm and fatigue. So they almost feel like they're being piled on. So it's actually the opposite for them. So in a typical stress response, the thing that we think about is anxiety, which means that we're too alert, we're too overstimulated, right? But when someone's being piled on and they feel overwhelmed and fatigued, it's quite the opposite. They actually need to be stimulated. They actually need to become more alert. They just need to do it in a calm fashion. So we're going to talk about ways to approach both of these things through breath first. I always like to start with the breath because it's the easiest thing to remember, okay? So we've had plenty of discussions about how to calm down, talking about the vagus nerve, right?
Yeah.
And really the idea of whether you're talking about the physiological sigh or ocean breathing, the idea really is that we are exaggerating and strengthening the exhale. Because when we do that, we stimulate the vagus nerve. We slow the heart rate down. We send the signal to the body and the brain, all is well, right?
No negative waves.
Right. So we know what that looks like. It's like if you're, I tell, my younger clients especially, if you think about blowing out a big birthday cake and you've got a lot of candles on the cake, you have to take a breath in and right? In that exhale and that dumping out is where your actual heart rate starts to slow down, right? And then you come back online. Now, if you're being piled on, though, and you're overwhelmed and you're fatigued, Dr. Huberman says that it's almost always the case that, first of all, it's a sleep or scheduling issue. And then those are whole shows all on their own, and we've talked about sleep and we've talked about scheduling. So, but those are sort of like slower things to do. We need like immediate response kind of things, right? So if you are feeling overwhelmed, what we actually want to do is flip it, and you want to go the opposite. So what you want to be doing is exaggerating the inhale and doing a vigorous inhale. So, right? So remember, I don't remember this breathing technique where you do this 20 to 30 times. Right? So at home, if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I've disconnected from my body, I can't take this anymore, I'm disassociating from life because it's just too much, right? This is what I want you to do. I'm actually going to do this 20 to 30 times. Now, warning, at first, you will feel agitated by this. Why? Because you are really ramping up that cortisol response, right? You're bringing yourself into sort of a purposeful state of stress and anxiety, all right? So you're going to do that 20 to 30 times, but very importantly, because we want to teach the brain and the body to relax in this heightened state of alertness, you want to calm yourself down. So it's 20 to 30 breaths like that, followed by an extended 15-second exhale.
Might feel a little goofy in church too.
You will feel a little goofy. I'm going to do this in private, but it works, right? So you're
Yeah.
and it is shown that you can actually teach your body to be in that heightened state of alertness and also stay calm. Really important. Reframing is really important. I think you probably will remember this conversation. This comes from Kelly McGonigal, and there was a study that was done in the United States for 30,000 people over an 8-year period of time. And they asked the people at the beginning of the study, how much stress have you experienced over the last year? What's the answer for you, by the way?
Over the last year?
Yes.
I
Like
feel-
low, moderate, high?
No, because I'm so used to stress, it's my norm.
Okay. But for an average person, what would it be? Low, moderate, or high?
Oh, hi.
High. Okay. And then do you associate stress with poor health? Like, in other words, do you think it's bad for you?
No, stress is a motivator for me.
Okay, so that's very important because they asked the people in this study, how much stress have you experienced and do you believe it's harmful for you? And then they followed with an 8-year period of time, they looked at the public records to see who died. And what they found is that those people who had high stress had a 43% increased chance of dying, but only if they believed, remember, only if they believed that stress was actually harmful for them. For those who did not believe that stress was harmful for them, they were the least likely to die, even below those who rated their stress low. So incredibly, your reframe on stress is very important. We can talk more about that
All right, we're
after.
going to come back in segment 2, and I'll tell you my little thought on that. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back. Don't go away. This segment was brought to you by Terrebonne Ford. Built Ford tough. All right, we're back. Debbie Cox-Danova. Keeping calm is the subject today. Here's my point. Without stress, I ain't getting nothing done.
Yeah.
And I go to meetings where I'm dealing with their whole corporate office when we're having a meeting. And to me and Harry McCullough used to always say, pressure is the opportunity to do well.
Oof.
If you got pressure on you, here's your chance to shine.
That is so key right there. Having a belief system, a direct belief system, that the stress that you experience in life is actually beneficial to you is the whole key. There was actually a Harvard study that was done. They took people and they put them under a social stress test. Now, what's a social stress test? Well, they took people and they told them they have to give a 5-minute impromptu speech about their personal weaknesses in front of a panel of judges with bright lights and cameras right up on their face. Okay, to make matters worse, the judges were given the instructions that they were to give them negative social cues. So arms crossed, looking at each other, boring, right? And so, as you might imagine, most people would find that very stressful. They're talking about something that's their personal weaknesses in front of people who are disapproving of them, followed by a math test where the instructor was actually asking them to count backwards by 9, and he was instructed to berate them the whole time, like, nope, faster, nope, you're doing it wrong. Start from the beginning, you messed up. You're not very good at this, right? That kind of thing. So in most situations, people would find this anxiety-inducing, right? But this Harvard study actually took participants and told them to actually view the raise in their heart rate, the sweaty palms, the feeling that they had as beneficial to their performance. And when they told those participants to do that, what they found is that those people showed up with less stress, more confident, and very interestingly, the heart did something very different. Because when you're under stress, your heart rate increases, but also the blood vessels constrict. This is dangerous for you. But those participants who saw their stress as actually beneficial, like working to help them out, they actually had a heart rate increase, but their blood vessels did not constrict. So this is how our heart behaves in moments of joy or courage. So it was really beneficial to the participants. So if you don't have a belief system at home, like Martin does, then you may want to tell yourself, this is my body helping me to rise to the challenge. This is my body helping me to rise to the challenge. Once you reframe it like that, your heart rate will still be up. Like you said, you actually need it to show up in life sometimes. But you will actually perceive it in much more of a calm, alert state, which makes all the difference.
High stress for me is okay. Little minute things where people are careless, that's what triggers me.
Right, that's
the other
great.
thing, you can see good athletes. Some people are very good at practice, but when the lights come on during the game, they crumble. Other people, mediocre at practice, when the lights go on, they are roaring.
Yes.
So you look for the one that when the lights go on, they don't have the deer in the headlight look.
Yes, it's very interesting because when you listen to interviews, you can hear about the mindset of those who are on who are actually on the court, on the field. They actually have a specific mindset that helps them to actually stay in that calm flow state. So you're actually moving, you're alert, you've got everything on board, but you're calm, right? So one thing to remember too is that we hear a lot about oxytocin as the cuddle hormone, but what a lot of people don't realize is that oxytocin is actually a stress hormone. So it's pumped out by the pituitary gland when you're under a stressful situation, just the way that cortisol, epinephrine is. And what's very interesting is it plays a critical role in protecting your heart during stressful situations. Now, oxytocin, we know, makes us want to get close to people, have more physical contact. It helps us to want to care about the people that we love, right? Really important. So what your body is essentially saying whenever you actually are in a stressful situation is go seek out people. And this is a really important thing because we just talked about the phenomenon of under sociality, where we believe that it's going to be, so much taxation to go and see people. Like, I'm not going to get as much out of it, but we always underestimate how much value comes back to us. So if you're going through something stressful in life, reach out to your friends, tell them about it, share about it, connect about it, because when you do that, oxytocin begins to flow. The benefits of oxytocin to protecting the heart actually increase whenever we connect to other people, right? So there are receptor sites on your heart that actually will take that oxytocin and it will help regenerate the cells of the heart and actually protect your heart. So much so that whenever we look at studies show that your chances of dying from a heart event actually increase by 30% whenever you have a major stressful life event. So financial issues, a death in the family. But that is not true for those people who are actually people who care, who go out and they contribute. I know that you're a big person in, like this in your family system, in your community as well, where you're constantly going out and helping. Those people who do that are protected fully, 100% protected from that statistic of dropping 30%. Because again, nature sort of benefits us by going out and actually being useful and helpful to other people. So connect and care.
Just real quick, you know what I think about when I didn't have a whole lot growing up. I had love.
Yes.
But I always say, if I lost everything today and I lived in an old beat up hut somewhere, would I be okay? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
That alleviates stress.
Yes.
Most people are stressed just trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah, and we talked about that, right? It's like all the wants. We have this long list of wants, right?
Yeah.
And the more wants we have, the more dissatisfaction we actually experience in life.
I'd have a whole lot less insurance,
Right.
which stresses me out.
Yes, exactly.
Good show. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break. Can't wait to see what the topic is next week. We'll see you then. This segment was brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Feels like home.